Hi, I'm Josh, welcome to a new video, and today I'll be doing the recap of the albums I listened to in August. First one being X and Y by Coldplay. I've said this every time I've talked about a Coldplay album, but they have really shut my mouth out. Ever since I listened to Parachutes, I've loved them. Maybe not all of their records, but definitely as a band. I'm very close to finish listening to their discography, and this is an album people don't talk much about. It has Fix You, which is one of my favorite Coldplay songs, so I was intrigued to listen to it. And wow, I liked it a lot. I don't know if I mentioned it when I listened to them, but in their first two albums I think they had a very rough sound. Sadly, I feel that's the case here too. Sometimes the songs don't sound as good. They're missing a better mixing that allowed everything to sound cleaner. But they do sound better as a band. For example, Chris Martin. His voice sounds way better than in Parachutes, more trained. It's like they all feel more mature in their respective instruments, allowing the songs to feel more connected. It sounds more like a band, not that separated as some of the moments in Parachutes did. Musically, it was also very interesting, because this was their departure from the alt rock sound they had, introducing way more electronic elements into their music, reflected in songs like the opening Square One, and also lyrically, with lyrics that make me question, who heard Chris Martin while making this record? Check the chorus of X and Y, for example, which by the way was the song I liked the most while listening to this album. I was impressed by it and I will put it among my favorite Coldplay songs. However, it's not my favorite one on the record, cause that one is Fix You. Beautiful song from a really nice album, and it's probably also the best sounding one. Second album I listened to was Hell Awaits by Slayer. Great album, but I want to talk about something I love from this album and Slayer in general, which is the amazing low-budget production it has. This was their second record, and while the budget was bigger, it still wasn't obviously huge. You can tell by listening to the drums or the vocals. But two things. First one is that gave such a unique sound to this record and to many similars. Those low budget conditions in which many thrash records were recorded at the time. That's what created such a unique sound. One I find super authentic, cause it's a huge part of the rawness that made special these early releases of the genre. Cause it's a reflect of the conditions this music was created from, which is why I don't like when bands try to replicate it by butchering the production. That's not how the sound was made, and that takes me to the second point, which is this album has incredible production. It may be the best produced early release from any thrash metal band I've ever listened to. I had heard a big portion of the budget was used to hire better producers and engineers, but damn, it really paid off, cause production here is impeccable. It's surprising how well mixed the instruments are. They sound so well put together, none of them above another, and Tom's voice fits excellently into it. It's great. I was very surprised by this record, and I enjoyed it a lot, cause it has killer riffs, awesome vocals, and infernal drums. It was fun though, noticing how much Slayer has copied the ideas from this record in future releases. Favorite song on it, A Dawn They Sleep. Third album we have is technically an EP, but I wanted to talk about it. Bangarang by Skrillex. It was life-changing for me. Skrillex was one of the first artists I was ever into, and this was one of my first approaches to more punchy music. I think we are mature enough in 2022 to appreciate how great this EP is. I think the argument that electronic music isn't real music because they're not playing actual instruments or any other along those lines are super stupid. During this period where electronic music ruled the world, there were definitely jewels made that prove how dumb that argument is. This is definitely one of the best examples, cause Bangarang goes hard. The song itself is one of the most important, influential songs of the 2010s. Without a doubt, the drop is a killer one, the solo and the subsequent sort of bridge and final build-up for the final drop are super pretty and well done. For some people it hurts to admit it, but I think Skrillex has some heavy stuff. Best example I would say from his entire career is Kyoto. The drop of that song made me realize that's the kind of music I wanna hear. Music that will make my head bang. Not only does that song show his ability to create some of the hardest drops in electronic music, but with the subsequent section, also some of the coolest melodies in the genre. Another good example of that would be Breaking a Sweat. The beat in the intro, I think it's a super pretty melodic one, but it slaps. Finally, the orchestral suite by Varian is a magnificent orchestral reinterpretation of some of the greatest melodies Skrillex had done to that point of his career. I love it. You know I'm a great fan of the Pokemon and Final Fantasy soundtracks, and this song feels like putting them together with the music of an artist I respect as much as Skrillex. Wonderful, decade-defining album with incredible production. I don't think many EPs of the past 30 years have had the influence this one had. Changed my life in a way I probably didn't stress enough, and my favorite song on it is Between Kyoto and Bangarang. Next we have another EP from him, Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites. Not as good as Bangarang, but this EP was the one that made the world realize who Skrillex was, with an era-defining track like the title one, a song that had such an impact on electronic music and every subgenre of it that pretty much started the trend that will shape the next years of them. Yeah, I'm a little tired of it, I've listened to it countless times in my life, however, I will never deny it had a huge influence, and it's a great track. Here we also have Rock and Roll, the song that got me into Skrillex, and I will simply not be here without that song. It's easily being one of the most important songs in my life. Top 3, because it was the song I started to find my own musical taste with. That's where I started to search, find, and get into music I like by myself, out of my own pure conviction. So I really can picture how different everything will be in my life if it wasn't for rock and roll. I treasure it a lot, and that's one of the reasons why Skrillex is so important for me. Plus, it's a banger, easily one of his best songs. He did amazing jobs in every section of it. Don't think you need me to say what my favorite song on this record is. Next album we have is Nectar by Joji, a man of many names. The one I met him through though was of course Filthy Frank. Sometime around late 2018, early 2019, I fell in love with his channel. Yeah, I got super late to the party, I know, but I only knew him as a YouTuber. I had no idea he was a musician, even though I had heard STFU, She's So Nice, and a couple more Pink Guy songs. Sometime later, around mid-2019, I found out about Slow Dancing in the Dark, and I couldn't believe it was the same guy. I went to listen to Ballads 1, and while I don't remember much about it, I've followed his career with big interest ever since. Never listened to Nectar though, and I gotta say, I'm relatively impressed by it. First detail, the relation between the cover art and the music. This album feels red, just like the one in the cover art. It's such a red and black album, and a song that makes that super evident is the first one, You. One with a sort of sexy, R&B vibe that I think kicks the album really well. Puts you in a mood. Followed by Modus and TikTok, which I think are good songs. But then we have the amazing Daylight. That song is wonderful. Incredible pre-chorus and chorus. I can have this song for a long time on repeat, wouldn't have no problem. Can't say the same about Gimme Love though. I get tired of the hook real quick, but the second half of it is super nice. And right after it we had the fantastic Run. Freaking loved that song the moment it came out. It has great guitar work and Joji kills it on the vocals. Maybe one of my favorite performances from him. The guitar solo on that one is delicious. Sanctuary, great song. It was like the second song I loved from him, and I still do. Cause the chorus and the sort of floating feeling this song gives me trapped me since the very first listen. Now, while I do think the second half of this album is weaker than the first one, that doesn't mean it's close to even mid, with pretty nice moments like Normal People, Afterthoughts, and Like You Do. Liked a lot this album, can't wait to hear his next one, and my favorite song on it, safe choice will be Run. Now, as always and before going to the last one, the albums I don't have much to say about. 1940 Carmen by Mon Laferte, In the Aeroplane Over the Ocean, Yak You by Jack Yu, Megilla by Bjork, and Immunity by Clairo. Last album of the month was The New Abnormal by The Strokes. Okay, my only experience with The Strokes had been Comeback Machine, an album I absolutely dislike. So I never really went ahead to check more of their stuff. But some months ago, a friend of mine showed me The Adults Are Talking, and I really liked the song. Plus, I had seen some nice comments on this album, put it on my list, and I finally listened to it. And I'm legit surprised by how much I like this album. It starts with two great tracks like The Adults Are Talking and Selfless. Both have such nice guitar and vocal work, excellent bass, and altogether, these songs create really nice ambiences. At first, I didn't like Brooklyn Bridge to chorus, but now I do enjoy it, and the album continues with a super strong step on Bad Decisions. Awesome song that shows you can make, let's say, songs with repetitive structure and still be super cool. Cause here, verse, choruses and bridge have pretty much the same riff playing over and over again. But it doesn't get tiring, thanks to the job the vocals and the rest of the instruments are doing. Love this one. And from there, the record keeps a very high quality level of music. Liked every single song, and the closer, Ode to the Mets, is a killer one. I also want to mention that this is a perfect example of what I mentioned in Hell Awaits. Cause while the record sounds super indie, especially if you pay attention to the effects the vocals have or how natural the instruments sound, it sounds like you're in a rehearsal room. It's obviously not an indie record, in terms of the budget at least. But it has the vibe, which is thanks to great production. As I mentioned in Hell Awaits, low budget doesn't justify shitty production, and high budgets don't justify butchering the production of an album in order for it to sound like a low budget one. So yeah, love this album. Favorite song on it? The Adults Are Talking. This month wasn't the most prolific, but it was a decent one. Listened to 13 albums, and the only one that made it into the Standard Club was The New Abnormal. Congratulations! So yeah, as always, I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to check my first album, Downwards, if you haven't yet. It's available everywhere, but you have the Spotify link in the description for you to go check it. I'd really appreciate it if you do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I've been waiting for years, hoping there's still a chance that you'll come visiting someday. Don't care if the guns are rusty, the bullet's black, you can still pretend it's fun to live for a last